Hello everyone, let's practice IELTS reading module. Let's begin with passage 1. Now pause the video and read the passage. Let's start finding the answers to the questions. Questions 1 to 7. Reading passage 1 has 5 paragraphs A to E. Which paragraph contains the following information? Write the correct letter A to E in the boxes 1 to 7 on your answer sheet. Scientists are mapping the world's largest volcano. Question 1. A suggestion that one part of the volcano may be different mountain. Start with the statement it talks about one part of the volcano possibly being a different mountain. In the para C, read the first sentence. It says the western part of Tamu Massif may actually be a separate volcanic feature. That expression, separate volcanic features, explains it might not be the same mountain as the rest. So, this idea belongs to paragraph C. And the next question, too. New maps being made to understand the volcano's formation. Now, look for the part that talks about maps. In the para B, we find the sentence saying the research team is developing 3D maps that provide the clearest view so far, and that is new information will help scientists understand how the volcano formed. Both the mention of 3D maps and the connection to understand formation appear together in the paragraph B. So the answer is para B. And the next question 3. Huge size and the location beneath the ocean. This statement mentions size and location under the sea. In the paragraph E, we read that Tamu Massif is around 1600 kilometers east of Japan, around 280 by 400 miles in size, and that is lies over a million beneath the ocean surface. Here we see the distance, dimensions, and depth in the same paragraph. So we match this information with paragraph E. The next question 4. Use of sonar and magnetic device for underwater research. To answer this, look for any description of the instruments used at sea. In the full version of this article, the opening section explains the team used solar equipment and magnetometers to study the sea floor. Magnetometers are the devices that detect magnetic fields. In your shortened version, paragraph A keeps the reference to magnetometers. So this paragraph is linked with the section with the use of sonar and magnetic devices. And the next question 5. Signs of craters and cliffs on the surface. Next, scan the paragraph for words describing holes or steep faces. In the paragraph D, the description says that Tamu Massif's surface contains many craters and cliffs, showing a varied history. Because of this is exactly what the statement describes. This information clearly belongs to paragraph D. And the next question 6. Difficulties caused by sharks attacking equipment. For this one, simply look for the word snake sharks. And the paragraph A, there is a line saying that during the 36th day expedition, sharks constantly attacked and damaged their underwater equipment, especially magnetometers. That shows the researchers had a problem specifically because sharks were biting the gear. So the statement matches with paragraph A. The next question 7. A theory that hot mantle material helped the volcano grow. This is about a possible explanation involving very hot rock deep inside Earth. In the paragraph D, we read that a deep plume of hot mantle rock supplied additional heat and magma, making the volcano much larger than typical ridge formed structure. The idea of the hot mantle material rising in a plum and adding extra magma is exactly the theory mentioned in the question. So we choose the paragraph D. And the next question 8 to 12. Complete the sentence below. Write no more than 2 words from the passage for each answer. Question 8. The team is preparing to view the volcano more clearly. Go back to the para B and read first sentence carefully. It says that the research team is developing 3D maps that provide the clearest views so far for this enormous underwater mountain. The missing word must refer to what they are preparing to see the volcano clearly. That phrase is 3D maps, so we write 3D maps. And the next question 9. Tamu Massif is shaped like a dash. Read the paragraph E. It describes Tamu Massif as a shield volcano about 280 by 400 miles in size. So the answer here is shield volcano. The next question 10. Scientists use dash to measure magnetic field. Locate the part of the paragraph that tells you which instrument measured magnetism. The text mentions magnetometers and explains that these instruments measure magnetic fields. So we will be writing here magnetometers. And the next question 11. Tamu Massif covers an area the size of. Here in the para B, which says that underwater mountain covers an area the size of New Mexico, providing a direct size comparison for the volcano. So we will be writing here New Mexico. And the next question 12. Sharks were attracted to the dash of magnetometer. Later, the article explains why sharks attracted the instrument. It said that sharks were drawn to the magnetometer because of its electrical field. It tells us what attracted them. In the gap, we therefore filled electrical field.
Next passage 2. We know the city where HIV first emerged. Pause the video and read the passage 2. Questions 13 to 20. Do the following statements agree with the information given in the passage 2? Write true, false, or not given. Question 13. AIDS appeared suddenly in the United States about 35 years ago. Look at the opening sentence. It states that AIDS first appeared in the US about 35 years ago, and that is seen to the erase suddenly because it attacked healthy young people. That is the main idea has appeared suddenly about 35 years ago. So this matches with the mark it true. The next question 14. HIV first spread widely in humans through contact with gorillas. Read on and see which animals are mentioned as the source. The passage says the virus probably came from monkeys and apes, and that the strain responsible for the pandemic probably came from chimpanzees. Gorillas are not given as a main source since the statement names a different animal from the one in the passage. So it contradicts the rest, so the answer is here false. And the next question 15. Only HIV 1 group M has led to the global pandemic. In the first paragraph, after explaining the different strains, the writer says that the only one strain, HIV 1 group M, become responsible for more than 90% of infections worldwide. That means the single group is the one that produced the global pandemic described. So the statement is true. The next question 16. HIV 1 group M spreads faster because it is the most infectious form of HIV. The next paragraph explains why the pandemic strains spread so widely. It says research suggests that this group did not dominate because it was biologically superior but because social and historical conditions allowed it to expand. That directly opposes the idea that it spread faster because it is the most infectious form. So we must mark it as false. And the next question 17. Researchers discovered that the earliest form of HIV-1 group M exists about 100 years ago. Later in the same paragraph, scientists analyzed many genomes and used their mutation rate as what they call a molecular clock. From this, they conclude that the common ancestor of HIV-1 group M exists only about 100 years ago. This agrees with the statement, so the answer is here true.
Next question 18. Kinshasa has an isolated city with very few travel connections in the 1920s. When the passage talks about Kinshasa in the 1920s, it described that it is a colonial capital that was growing quickly. It adds that the city had extensive rail network which allowed the virus to travel to other towns hundreds of miles away within 2 decades. Here, the place with extensive rail network is clearly not isolated. So the statement is opposite to the test and you must write here false. And the next question 19. Haitian workers helped spread HIV from Africa to the Americans. Later, the test explains what happened after Congo's independence. It says migration increased between Congo and Haiti, and that returning Haitian workers carried the virus back to the Caribbean. Since the Caribbean is in the Americas, this shows that Haitian workers did help move to the virus from Africa to the Americas. So the answer here is true. And the next question 20. HIV reached the United States in the 1980s. In the next sentence, the author described the route. From Haiti, the virus arrived in the United States in 1970s. So it's clear it was spread in 1970s, not in 1980s. So the statement is here false. The next questions 21 to 28 sentence completion. Next question 21. HIV probably passed to humans from people eating infectious dash. Return to the first paragraph and look where it explains how the virus crossed into the humans. It states that this happened several times, probably through the consumption of infectious bushmeat. So the missing object after infectious is bushmeat. So we have to write here bushmeat. The gap. The next question 22. More than 90% of HIV infections belong to the group called dash. In the same paragraph, we see that more than 90% of infectious worldwide come from one strain named HIV-1 group M. So the gaps ask for the name of the group, so we write the copy HIV-1 group. The next question 23. Scientists used a dash to track the evolutionary timeline of the virus. In the second paragraph, we learn that researchers examined hundreds of virus genomes and used their mutation rate as what they described as a molecular clock. This image of the clock is how they measured the timeline. Because of the question mentions tracking the evolutionary timeline, the phrase molecular clock fits the description and should be written in the answer space. The next question 24. Kinshasa was once named during the Belgian colonial period. Still in that paragraph, the test says that the pandemic began Kinshasa and adds in the bracket that it was formerly called Leopoldville. The questions ask for the earlier name of the city, so the correct word to copy is Leopoldville. The next question 25. The dash helped spread HIV rapidly to the African cities. In the third paragraph, we read that the city extensively rail network allowed HIV to travel quickly across Central Africa, reaching hundreds of miles away. Since the question refers to what helped spread HIV rapidly to other cities, the phrase is railway network. The next question 26. The virus subtype carried a Haiti was known as dash. A little further down, When the paragraph describes the movement of Haiti, it explains that Haitian workers took back a particular form of HIV 1 group M called subtype B. So the answer here is subtype B. And the next question 27. In the US, HIV spread widely among gay men in dash cities. When the virus reached the United States, we are told it spread in the urban gay communities in cosmopolitan cities such as New York and San Francisco. Questions finishes with cities. So the word describe those cities is cosmopolitan. Next question 28. Genome analysis can help confirm when dash have been effective. In the final paragraph, the article mentions that genomic analysis can show how outbreaks respond when public health actions are used. The text uses the term public health interventions. So, the answer here is interventions. Next, passage 3. Penguins. Anti-ice trick prevailed. Now, pause the video and read the passage. Let's start finding the answers to the questions. Questions 29 to 33 multiple choice. Question 29. What did researchers want to find out? In the first paragraph, the passage describes how penguins are constantly moving between freezing water and extremely cooled air, but the ice does not form on their feathers. The next sentence says that researchers examined feathers to understand this phenomenon. That means the purpose of the research was to find out how the feathers avoid ice formation. Among the options, this match choice B, which says they want to know how the feathers avoid ice forming on them. And the next question 30. What method was used to study the feathers in detail? Also, in the first paragraph, one sentence tells us the scientist used scanning electron microscopy, abbreviated as SEM, to look at penguin feathers under high magnification. Among the choice, only option C names scanning electron microscopy. So C is correct. And the next question 31. Why do droplets take longer to freeze on penguin feathers? In the third paragraph, the descriptions of gento feathers explain that water droplets landing on them from almost perfect squares, which reduce the area where they touch on the feather surface. The text continues that this small contact area slows the transfer of heat, so the droplets roll off before they can freeze. That explanation is the same as option D, which says that minimal contact reduces the flow of heat. And the next question 32. What inspired Dr. Kavepur? Later, the article explains how the research began. It says that Dr. Kavepur got the idea after watching a nature documentary showing penguins in icy conditions and noticing that water never froze on their feathers. Among the response choice, next question 33. How does a research team hope to use their findings? In the last paragraph, the team's future goal is mentioned. They hope to use the knowledge of penguin feathers to design new materials that can prevent ice buildup on technical surface, particularly on aircraft. The writer says these materials might reduce the need of chemical de-icing liquids currently sprayed on planes. This clearly refers to improving technology for removing or preventing ice, which is described in option B. And the next questions 34 to 41 word completion. Question 34. Antarctic penguins live in extremely low dash. The first paragraph tells us that penguins experience water at about minus 2.2 degrees Celsius and the air that can fall to minus 40 degrees Celsius. Both details are about how cold it is. So the general noun that fits the gap is temperature. And the next question 35. Scientists says penguins are likely engineering. In the second paragraph, the research team describes penguin features penguin feathers as living engineering marvels. The phrase compares them to impressive work of engineering. The missing word in the sentence after engineering is marvels. So that's the answer.
Question 36. Gento penguins have more dashboards in their feathers. Here in the para 3, we can see that the Gento penguins' feathers were found to be significantly more superhydrophobic due to the nano-sized pores that trap air. So the answer here is nano-sized. And the next question 37. The dash oil helps make the feathers super hydrophobic. Here in the paragraph 2 we can see that this is achieved through a combination of nano-sized spores on the feather surface and a special water repellent preening oil. So the answer here is preening. And the next question 38. The birds create a thick protective layer using short dash feathers. Here in the paragraph 4 we can see that penguins are well adapted for cold survival with short overlapping outer feathers. So the word before feathers is outer. And the next question 39. A layer of dash beneath the skin keeps penguins insulated. Here in the same paragraph there is fluffy insulating layers beneath and thick fat under the skin. So the answer here is fat. The next question 40. Chemicals dash are currently used on aircraft to remove ice. Here in the last paragraph we can see that environmentally harmful chemical de-icers currently used on aeroplanes. So the answer here is de-icers. And thanks for watching. Follow us for more videos.